Aruna Dhir, Miss Ira Chauhan, and Miss Pooja Marwah to come on stage, please. Can we have a round of applause, please, from the audience? We've gathered here for the book launch of Aruna Dhir's new book, which is titled Hotel Adventures with the Stars. Aruna Dhir is a hospitality and a feature writer and columnist for some of the world's highest ranked hospitality publications. Her industry writings are syndicated to the finest global hospitality bodies and used as references in case studies in hotel schools. We're very happy to have you here, ma'am. Next up is Miss Pooja Marwah. She's someone who wears many hats, an Indian author, columnist, blogger, corporate counselor, speaker, content creator. Her debut book, Pursuit Drawn by Destiny, stands as a testament to Pooja's unwavering belief in the power of faith. Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have Ira Chauhan, ma'am. She's an alumnus of Miranda House College. She's an Odyssey dancer and a disciple of Padma Shri Mayadhar Raut. She's an activist, a trustee with Citizens for Green Dune, a mindfulness practitioner, and a moderator at many literature events. Welcome, ma'am. Can we have a round of applause from the audience, please? Before we get into the discussion, we'd start with the book launch. If I could please request Aruna Dhir, ma'am, Ira, ma'am. Let me just read out from the blurb of the book. What would happen if you got stuck with dreaded Bollywood villains like Gulshan Grover and Ranjit, and they rescue you from being harassed? What would the reaction be if Madhuri Dixit said, "I am sorry" to you? As a 4-year-old in the verdant Doon Valley, Aruna would prance around the garden with the great sitar maestro Vilayat Khan when he would hold his music soirees. At 19, Aruna had Bollywood's sexiest hero of the time, Sanjay Dutt, say "I love you" to her. By the time she began working with hotels, Aruna had stars from Bollywood and Hollywood orbiting her galaxy. The book Hotel Adventures with the Stars is truly one-of-a-kind autobiography that chronicles several of Aruna's engrossing true encounters with a gamut of celebrities like Hrithik Roshan, Kapil Dev, Jackie Shroff, Dimple Kapadia, Ruskin Bond, Menaka Gandhi, Kiran Bedi, Khushwant Singh, and so on. Funny, thrilling, and heartwarming in equal measure, the book is a collector's edition memoir. We're very fortunate to have you here, ma'am. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, right. Ira, ma'am, you can start with the discussion. Okay, all right, all right.
Closer, isn't it?
Hi Aruna, welcome to Dehradun.
Thank you.
Lovely, lovely to meet you. So, I'll begin with who is Aruna the woman and how is she different from Aruna the girl who was constantly surrounded by celebrities during her growing up years?
Hello, Dehradun. Good evening, Dehradun. First of all, I have my Rockers Girl gang there. We have to make some noise. First of all, a vote of thanks before I start anything. No author is an island, and there are a lot of people who've contributed to putting me where I am today. The first one, today, the thanks has to go to the Valley of Birds Festival, Sanjeev Chopra, for organizing a fantastic festival. He's been doing it for, I think, 5-6 sessions before this, seasons, which is fantastic. He's changed the mindscape of Dehradun with his initiative. A big thank you to my publisher, Vishwakarma. Because of them, the book is out in the hands of people leading a life of its own. To my fantastic agent, Suhail Mathur of the Book Bakers, who's been a push and a shove, and really his perseverance has made me finish and bring the book out. To my husband, Sulabh Upadhyay, for being my rock of Gibraltar, really, in all times, in all seasons, at all occasions. To my lovely niece, who is a thorn in my flesh, you know, with her petulant ways, but a lovely person to have in my life. So really thank you. And thank you to the readers, you know, without whom authors would not be there, really. So thank you to everybody who reads books and, you know, has a fondness and love for literature. So thank you, and thank you for being here this evening. Thank you so much. To answer your question, Pooja, well, Aruna, the woman of today, is all spiced up, you know, and she's all seasoned out, you know. She's been sun-baked and sun-kissed. She's been tempered with the tempering of temperaments that she has, you know, handled and tackled over the years with so many celebrities. But, you know, and she's pickled too, you know, suitably pickled. But jokes apart, with time, with so many influences, with meeting such a disparate range of people, what I have realized and what I've learned is that I've stopped living in a little island of I, me, and myself, you know. So there's less spotlight on myself and more on the others. And one is more into outside-in thinking. One is more inclusive now. One has become more accommodating, more accepting, more acknowledging of all kinds of people. Even within celebrities, there are different shades of people with so many traits and characters as humans are, you know, prone to have. So I think that's a very good open-mindedness that one has learned over the years and in one's interactions. And yes, one thing that stayed the same between Aruna the girl and Aruna the woman is that she's never been starry-eyed. You know, I've never been in awe of stars in that, you know, respect. They're just like any of us. They're the same beneath the veneer, beneath the grease paint. They just sort of, you know, thrive and beat as each one of us. So that, and so much so that, you know, I was going to call this book Not So Star-Struck. That was going to be the title of this book until my lovely literary agents put his foot down saying that, you know, it says that, you know, you're cocking a snook at the celebrities. You don't care much for them, you know. And that's not a very widely used term. So let's go back to, you know, making something which is easily understood and has a massive appeal. So it has to be, and it's easily understood, you know, from where the book is, you know, coming from, what's the genesis of the book. So we ended up calling it Hotel Adventures with the Stars and not So Starstruck, which is, and I'm happy to concede to his demand. So there you are, you know, that's what Aruna is all about now.
Thank you. I personally love this name as compared to the earlier name.
Thank you. I'll tell the literary agent
Yes,
that.
please do.
Having hobnobbed with luminaries, authors, dancers, and musicians, you share the humane side of these personalities and these celebrities in your book. If you had to pick one personality who, out of your never-ending list, who would you say made the most beautiful person and why?
I'm going to cheat a little and not name a person from this set of, you know, celebrities. We have 27 featuring in Hotel Adventures with the Stars.
That's being diplomatic.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember, I'm from the PR background too, and not to upset anybody, not to upset this apple cart at least. But you know, honestly speaking, and truth be told, one person I really became very fond of is the great, legendary rock star Paul Simon. And that's because he showed me such a fascinating facet of humaneness and what human beings can be like. He met me at a time, I was working at the Imperial as the director PR, and he met me at a time when I was, you know, hitting a low ebb professionally because suddenly there was a lot of politics in the hotel, and one amongst a host of others, one was, you know, facing a lot of, you know, strife and push and pull. And he was there staying with us, and you know, they say that what you say to people, people will forget. But how you make them feel, they will always remember. And that's one reason why I will never forget the niceness, the goodness of Paul Simon. He came to the lobby, we were getting him photographed, and he saw that he needn't, you know, he's a legend, he's God, he's rock music's God. But he noticed that something was amiss, something was awry. We had, first of all, he came on time, the general manager trooped in a bit late, and he waited patiently. No airs, no sort of, you know, arrogance, no nothing. And he sort of stood around with me, waiting for the GM to come. The GM comes, a French gentleman who was a bit cocky. He shook hands with Paul Simon, but Paul was, just his usual self, modest, absolutely fantastic, a thorough gentleman. We took the pictures, and the GM said he has to leave, but Paul Simon stayed back. And he felt that, I was not, he didn't know me from before, but he really could sense something, so he tried to do a lot of small talk. He made me feel nice. Between the general manager and me, I was the junior, I was the director PR, so junior than the general manager. Yet, there was no difference. He made me feel much better, much nicer. Whereas, a normal person would have given more sort of a bow or sort of, more importance to the general manager, but no. And then he hung around, wanted to know about me, what I was up to, how was I feeling. And then he says, would you not want a picture with me? So I said, and I was speechless that I was not in my element. Normally, it's very difficult to, make me in a speechless sort of zone. But that day I was. So he says, and he was garrulous, where Paul Simon is known to be very quiet and reticent as a person. So he says, okay, now that you've agreed for a picture, let's stand here, let's stand there. Why didn't you take a pose like that, So he needn't have done any of that. And the way that he, went out of his way to make a person feel good and regain her energy and her verve is something not a normal person would have done. So really, Paul Simon.
He wasn't full of himself,
Not
and he
at
was
all.
sensitive to the people
Very
around
sensitive,
him.
very sensitive.
That makes for a fine human
Yes,
being.
yes. Given his stature, he didn't have done any of that, but how he showed, and an example that, how you treat others, especially who may be on the lower rung, or especially who may be feeling low, and people, especially those who have nothing to give to you at that point of time. That's a great touchstone of human excellence, I think, and human trait. So definitely Paul Simon any day.
That's a great choice. Completely justified, I
Thank
would
you.
say.
I have something to say on that. So, on meeting Paul Simon, do you think our Indian celebrities are more, kind of have their nose more up in the air than the foreign ones?
No, I wouldn't say that. I've met some douchebags, even internationally.
Okay.
Am I glad to hear that?
So some American no names, but some of them have been too full of themselves. But you're right. Indians have a predilection towards
little bit, yeah, we
towards
do.
getting stuffed up too easily. So
Yeah.
yes, we are given to that. But there are all kinds of people, all over the world.
Definitely,
Yeah.
So in Meera Nayar's chapter 11, you mentioned that you have done many an outlandish thing as a hotel PR person. I'd love to know one of the most outlandish, absolutely crazy things that you could have done.
So in the course of my hotel career, which has been a long one, there have been several, mischief that one has created. And there have been a few unmentionables, which are, as I said, unmentionables. So I will not mention them. So, but some of the funny ones, and also they stand out because we were the first hotel to try something like that. It had never been tried before, and so it opened up, eyes of several other hoteliers to possibilities that sort of, lay therein. And one of the things that stands out is that both at the Oberoi and the Imperial Hotel, we had done it. As you know, coincidentally, we are sitting in the Beaujolais Nouveau month. Wine lovers, identify with Beaujolais Nouveau. It's the wine of the year. It's the best of wine, but the wine with the shortest life, really. It's made in that year, and it has to be drunk in that year, and so and then it goes off. So when Beaujolais Nouveau normally is launched, in the third week of November, on the third Thursday, so it's just about to be released globally. It comes from the tiny village of Beaujolais in France, near Lyon, and it's carted off to the rest of the world. So whatever production is there is taken off to the rest of the world, to all parts of the world, and it's taken off amidst a lot of fanfare and revelry and, lot of hangama, and it's carted from Beaujolais in different ways. So it will be airdropped in a hot air balloon, or on elephants, or in carts. So people find novel ways to sort of take the wine and to create a celebration around it. And hotels have, around the world caught on to this sort of, festival. At the Oberoi, what we did between me and the chef, his name is Bruno Serdon, he's an Australian-French chef, we actually recreated how it is traditionally brought in. And no hotel had ever dreamt of something like that. So at the Oberoi, if you've been to the Oberoi New Delhi, from the patisserie, it's an L-shaped road. From the patisserie, we carted the wine on a bike, and Bruno, he donned his striped shirt. He became a Beaujolais man for that evening. So he wore a beret, he wore a striped shirt, his pants were, held up in braces and moccasins with the pants rolled up. And there's a beautiful bicycle, flower-laden bicycle with baguettes and everything. And he carted the wine, and we had guests, Oberoi guests, which is such a stiff upper lip hotel, known for its sort of political correctness. But on that evening, the guests lined up on both sides of the sidewalk, as it were, and Bruno, carried the wine in the bicycle to the chants of Beaujolais arrive. And we did something similar at the 2 years or 3 years down the line at the Imperial. That year, Beaujolais had actually contracted works of Van Gogh. And they had sort of, put these beautiful sunflower and iris paintings of Van Gogh on the label, on the beautiful Beaujolais, bottle. And that's actually keepsake. It's become an heirloom now. So we had 2 models hired, and one became a sunflower girl and one became an iris girl. And there was a Beaujolais boy this time carting the wine, in a wheelbarrow. And, Bruno still being the Beaujolais man, ringing the bell and bringing the wine in. So it was a bit outlandish, never done before, interesting, for the city of Delhi, for the wine lovers, and that was, I think, something very nice. Another thing that I have done, which nobody had really thought of, was to actually make a model out of my boss. This was at the Hyatt, and we had a very good-looking, dishy New Zealander as a general manager. And I used to work a lot with media, that being my portfolio. And one of the persons I used to work with was, a huge media person now, somebody called Tarun Sarda, who's really, brought out a lot of magazines, one being a very nice glossy magazine called Wedding Affair. So I was the stooge, if they wanted something, they would come to me for venue, for creative ideas, for doing a project. So that instance, they came and said, okay, fine, can we do something new? So we made Peter Fulton, who's a big guy now in the Hyatt Circle now, we made him dressed up as a bridegroom in a Tarun Tahiliani, bandgala and sherwani and jutis and all that. And we had him model.
That's no mean feat, but coming from you, I think it's quite possible.
And he agreed, so that was nice. So that, yes, a few things like that, really, So yeah, there you are,
But believe me, your book has many more
Yes.
outlandish things. So for all of you who haven't read it, you must pick that up for more. Would you like to read a small excerpt from
Yes,
Mira's
absolutely,
chapter?
absolutely. That's from the Mira chapter, right?
Yeah, Mira's.
Okay, this excerpt is from Meera Nair's chapter, and the title is Playing Spa Sisters with Meera Nair. My absolute favorite is the Beverly Wilshire Hotel in Beverly Hills, California. It is, after all, the Pretty Woman Hotel that has left a fine and indelible imprint on me. So here we were with a Hollywood A-lister like Meera Nair, approaching us to shoot at a hotel. I made a convincing case to the general manager and won him over to my side. Now I just had one mountain to scale, that of getting a go-ahead from Vicky Oberoi. It was a task not for the weak-kneed or weak-willed. It required an assiduous presentation of the proposition, and it needed careful planning around when and how to make that presentation. It required agile brain work because Mr. Oberoi is a very sharp man. He still is, and absolutely nothing escapes his eagle eye. The footwork between my office, that of the general managers, and then Mr. Oberoi's had to be nimble, inventive, and ingenious. And yes, one had to be extremely perseverant. Meera was assertive. If you want more spicy stuff, we'll come to it, gentlemen and ladies. Meera was assertive and forceful on her part, too. Yes, the hotel would be shown in a good light. No, they would not inconvenience the guests. Yes, due credits would be given to the hotel. Meera Nair assuaged me, since this was more my concern than Mr. Oberoi's. No, they would not take too long. Finally, we received Mr. Oberoi's consent to our utter relief and rejoicing. I had a lengthy sit-down with Meera on how her crew would go about shooting. I had to understand the logistics down to the tiniest facet. Meera had planned to shoot one scene or maybe two at the Oberoi. On the D-Day, the scene started out in silhouette, the Oberoi salon in the basement. The bride and the girls were to be shown engaging in a lot of teasing and light-hearted, in a lot of teasing and light-hearted banter while getting ready. The part of the scene that played out in silhouette was shot on a shoulder-propped, handheld, compact camera. The bride and the girls were dressed up in elaborate wedding finery. The abounding emotions, the joyousness, the boisterousness, the excesses, the heightened drama, and the overwhelming sentiments beset in a big fat Indian wedding had to be caught on camera through the tossing of highlighted tresses, the jangling of the kaliras, the mesmerizing effect of mehndi tattooed hands, the opulence of the haute couture lehengas and cholis worn by the bevy of beauties, the glitter and glamour of sequins. And then the bride and the bridesmaid were to be filmed running about playfully through the arcade onto the lobby, and finally out of the main door into the porch. The scene was a lead up to a high point, a sort of crescendo of the monsoon wedding before the plot was to drop into a trough of fear, shame, secrets, and revelations.
How beautifully put. I love the way you write.
Thank
It's
you,
very
Raj.
interesting
Thank
and
you.
very tough to put down. Moving on from these feisty firsts and the wild stuff that you did, I'm moving on to some philosophical stuff. Also because I have a bias, because I'm very fond of Ustad Shujat Khan. So this question is about him. You've had a long association with him, and there are these heart-to-hearts you have with him. Those really had me enthralled. Would you like to elaborate on that, share some more about this fine maestro, and would you like to read an excerpt?
Well, Shujat Hussain Khan is a marvelous personality, and a very, he's gone through a lot of turbulence in life, because it's not easy being a legend like Ustad Vilayat Khan's son, and to be able to step out of his shadows, to make a place for himself under the sun, and to create his own niche has been an extremely difficult thing. And Vilayat Khan uncle was not an easy man, as some of us know, because he was didactic, he was very sort of, controlling, he was very sure of his own ways and his own style. I mean, he was the heir of a certain Gharana, and the legacy had to be carried on, which Shujat Bhai has done admirably. But to be able to get away from that and to become a man and a musician in his own right has been very commendable. Also, the other thing I've liked about Shujat Bhai is that we were talking about how people, good people make the others feel. He stayed the same with everybody. You could be a Raja or a Rank, it doesn't matter to Shujat Hussain Khan. He will treat you exactly the same way. And he has a very nice philosophical touch to life about everything. In the book, when we were talking about the book, for example, and was saying, what is your life about, Bhai, tell me. And he said one thing to me, and he says, I'm a very ordinary person leading an extremely extraordinary life. And that, I think, is a magnificent, and it encapsulates his life very well. So Shujat Hussain Khan is an extreme, and of course, as we know, he's a Grammy nominee. He's world famous now. I think he's one of the best guitarists in the country. He's the heir of the Imdad Khani Gharana, but he's really stayed to the ground and stayed humble and nice, and the same with everybody. And that's something which, it's emulative, I think, yes.
So were you ever inspired to play the sitar when you saw Ustad Vilayat Khan play?
I had better things to crave for. Around that time in life, you'll pull me up for that, because but I was very young, so please excuse me and pardon me for this transgression, because I should have picked up an instrument. All I can do is play the harp, with my mouth. So, but no, that time I was very keen about his Vilayat Khan used to throw fantastic soirees. Music, of course, was the mainstay, but also the drinks that the elders enjoyed, and the food. So as a young kid, and I'm a cheese fiend, so maybe I had a ear for the music, but what I would really crave for were those cubes of cheese, which are speared onto toothpicks, and I would just sort of, go to the parties. My parents didn't have to force me; I would just go for that. So more than the sitar, the cheese was what
That's
pulled me in.
disarming honesty coming from you.
Thank you.
I think we're running out of time, is it? How much time do we have?
Well, I have a few questions. So, okay, in chapter 15, now I found this really, really interesting on Sanjay Dutt. Aruna has written, as Sanjay proclaimed his love for me on paper. Now, this is Sanjay Dutt that we're talking about. He asks me, would you not like to take my address? Would you not like to write to me? I think for any of us, if Sanjay Dutt were to say that, we'd jump and say, yes, yes, give it to me, you know. But he was quite befuddled when she said no. I told him, I would rather give you mine. At least then, I would be sure that you want to communicate with me. I think it was pretty feisty of you to have said that to a man of his stature, and to see his face must have been like, oh my God. What happened there?
He was taken aback completely because
I am shocked.
nobody had, he was just he was there for the premiere of Jaan Ki Bazi, and he had seen the success with Rocky and a few other films, I think with Hata and all that. And he was the flavor of the season, dishy, good looking, with the looks of Sunil Dutt and Nargis. And he was the, sexy star sensation at that point of time, especially for the CGM girls, Vinita, we were crazy about him. And so he was being mobbed at Prabhat where the premiere was taking place. So all people were crazy about Sanjay Dutt. But my thing was, and of course I have a lot of chutzpah, not arrogance, just chutzpah. And I said to him, I was being logical, Pooja.
It's the right thing to say.
It is the right thing to
yeah,
say
yeah.
because you take the celebrity's address, and you will send fan mail to him. Not everybody is an Amitabh Bachchan who takes the time to write back to you and write address your letter and write pointedly back to you. And so they get fan mail, which I think becomes what we have in publishers' parlance /file for them, which may never be looked at. So I said, if I take his address, he, and I write to him, he may respond, not respond. But if I give him and I was all of 19, if I give him my address, then I'm sure that he will at least pick it up and think of writing to me. I was trying to sort of cover my corners, and he was pleasantly amused, and he agreed with the logic.
And that was a very smart thing to say.
Since we are running out of time, should we open the
Yes,
floor for
yes,
some questions from the
yes,
audience if
yes.
you would like? Yeah, there's plenty of interesting stuff you could ask her about. Would you care to take mine?
So I was among the first people to order the book. Aruna ma'am knows that. But the first rights to read it were claimed by the other Lal.
Mr.
sitting there.
Alok Lal, absolutely.
So I have not been able to read it yet, unfortunately. But having spoken to you on your YouTube channel, and of course about literature in general, I know that you are quite a perfectionist.
Thank
and once
you.
on our group, we had an argument about using the same word twice in a paragraph, something on
Yes.
those lines. So how was the process of editing a book like? Because it must have been a nightmare for somebody who pays such attention to detail.
Oh, it was pleasurable because it's your baby and you want your baby to come out looking absolutely best. So a mother or a father will, leave no stone unturned to make sure that every tress is in place, the bow is well tied, the frock is properly ironed. So all that ironing out was a good process, happy process. But yes, strife torn also because, you're always thinking. And the other thing was, Manas, when you were looking at your book and you've gone through the same thing twice over, every time you look at the proof, there's something that jumps up at you. And you kick yourself saying that, oh, how did I miss that one, Because I've read the whole manuscript. And you've taken a fine-tooth comb to go through it again, and yet something else comes up. So there's no end to it. But then, of course, so it was a bit harrowing, and there was no stopping you. But at one point, you have to say, okay, you've done your best, and then there it is. You got it right, And between you and an editor at the publishers, I think you managed to do a decent job and then try and get out a glitch-free product, right? Which other people will not notice, hopefully.
Hopefully being the right word.
Isn't it?
To that, I can say that in our final manuscript, we have a couple of errors.
Oh.
And we still have some sleepless nights. at
Yes,
times.
isn't it? Because then you really curse yourself saying, how did you miss it? Because, you've gone through it so many times. But it's also called the eye fatigue or the author's fatigue. I think that sort of, seeps in. And you
Yes.
try not to have that.
In this case, sorry, it was not author's fatigue. It was the howler of the printer.
Oh.
I think 2 mistakes in the whole book, and they were entirely their mistake, not ours.
You're talking about your book, right? Not mine. Mine is.
Yeah, you're just being
I
sure.
didn't
I have to be clear.
Mine is
I didn't
such a
spot any
relief.
mistake.
Mine is no printer's devil, isn't it?
We'll take that offline now.
Okay. I dread.
Any other questions? There are plenty
I'll
of
ask on behalf of the
celebrities.
audience. So I want to know, this is it's an autobiography of sorts. So what made you want to encapsulate all your memories and put it into a book titled Hotel Adventures?
Number one, they're not all my memories,
Okay,
Pooja.
most
They're
of
more,
them.
more. And
No,
they're-
I mean most of
and,
them.
and there's spicier stuff left out.
I'm sure you
for,
have.
For a sequel. So, you're right. Raja was about to say that. So there's much more exciting and spicier sort of set of celebrities left out for the sequel. But these are great, stories as well. No, what made me write was that, my first of all, I used to write for Daily O as well, the very successful platform of India Today. And I don't know how, I write in hospitality for the #1 ranked hospitality publication, but my other kind of writing is also, fun writing. And Daily O was a good platform. And somehow I was writing a lot about nostalgia. Dehradun is my, beautiful hometown, my lovely city, and there's always great memories that I've grown up with and reflect on now. So, and those nostalgia pieces were liked by people. And then somehow I was writing about celebrities. Who's the sexiest hero of all time? Who are the biggest villains that Bollywood has seen? Who's the best public speaker in Bollywood? And so on and so forth. Sometimes even on Priyanka Chopra's dresses. Is she wearing the right dress to meet the Prime Minister? And I did not okay the frock that she wore.
Frock? You're calling it a frock.
It was a frock. So, and those articles were being very lapped up by the readers at large. Strangely, through divine intervention or through the writing or through the celebrities who were being written about, those articles would get the highest amount of hits and readership on the Daily O platform. So much that the editor started demanding for more. And then I wrote one article on Salman Khan, which was completely uncongratulatory, uncomplimentary. And that created nightmare for, not so much for me, but for my family, because I was majorly trolled on every platform. The trollers found me on Facebook, on Twitter, which is the harvesting bed of the trolls. And the things they said to me, so much that I said, oh my God, have I done the wrong thing? The editor was happy. My husband is Buddha, so he says, oh, don't worry about it. It was my niece who said, you have arrived. You're being trolled. And unless and until an author has been trolled, you're not quite there. You're famous now. So, but what jokes
Any
apart.
publicity is good publicity.
Yes,
as they
that's
say.
right. Yeah, anything, even bad publicity is good publicity. But the good thing is that, that paved the way. And my husband said, when people are liking your celebrity stories and you're so full of them, and there's so many that you can talk about, why don't you do a book? And that's when the idea germinated and we began thinking about who ought to talk about. And then, of course, I met
So we
my
should
literary
thank your
agent.
husband for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. The officer and gentleman.
Yeah, the officer and gentleman.
Alokji wants to say something. Yeah.
To Aruna, I don't even have to speak.
Yes, yes.
So, having said that, it's so wonderful to hear you speak because
you.
I have seen your YouTube channel broadcasts. They're wonderful. And to know that you love baby Cinderella and baby Barkat so much, and there has been some sense conveyed somewhere in one of the posts that you might probably be writing a book on dogs. Is that right?
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Thank you for, bringing it out on the platform, Alok. If you notice the acknowledgement, my first acknowledgement goes to the babies in my life, the pet babies, because I owe them so much. The fur babies have been, as they are to anybody their biological children would be. And what they have given to me, I could not have given even half of that to them. The string of babies I've had, and you mentioned, thank you for mentioning baby Cinderella and Barkat baby now,
Looking
who rules
forward to- Looking
Yes.
forward to that book because
Thank
I'm
you.
also very fond of
Yes,
GSDs.
you are. Absolutely.
And both these are GSDs.
That's
so
correct.
I'm very happy
That's
that you're
correct.
writing. The other is, there's hardly anybody whom I've met recently who has such penchant for the language. You speak wonderfully. You write very well. Your book is great. I've read it. And as Manas was mentioning, you don't repeat a word. Do you think two similar words can convey the sense that you want to do always?
Transliteration, or there's a very nice thing about some words in some cultures, and I forget, there's a set of 21 words or 51 words for which there is no synonym, because you can't convey the essence of what those words are saying in that culture. And that's the very fine thing about language and cultures, I think. But as writers, I feel, I was reading a fellow author's book, and I'm no names really, and of course the book had been edited and the book is successful. But on the first page, I saw one word being repeated 4 times. It could be my OCD kicking in. Maybe another reader may not even notice. But as writers, I think it's a bit sort of, glaring. Not your book at all, it's very finely done. But it's a lazy man's, thing to let the same word appear again and again, even if you have a penchant for using that. When you can avoid and you have a better synonym, it's always good to go for another word. And it's good for the readers also because, it's good to enhance somebody else's vocabulary as you go about enhancing your own, isn't it?
I remember this negative review which our book got in the Deccan Chronicle, and the reviewer said that they had trusted informers, trusted being the favorite word of the authors.
I
Correct.
don't remember that at all. I've gone through the book with a fine tooth comb. Yes, absolutely. I don't remember
But
this.
your book is about law and crime and trusted witness, trusted, you have, it has to come out. And sometimes that there's a bit of a, not a nice, pleasant sort of thing to do when you're looking at words. Because when you say, I think, I opine, I was of the opinion of, how much can you stretch? When you have to say think, you have to say think, or say. There are resources which, tell you that there are 50 ways of saying say. So good for us, really, but, sometimes you just have to say, Yeah, say. So, plus and minus of that, really. Yes, absolutely.
So were yours.
That's right. Correct. Absolutely. Correct. Absolutely. In the current one, for example, to say beautiful, you can't keep saying everybody, Sharmila Tagore is beautiful, we all know that, but you can't say she's beautiful. Madhuri Dixit is also beautiful, Poonam Dhillon is beautiful, or you say ravishing, stunning. So there was a bit of a catch there. So you had to find novel ways to, describe them as well and not be repetitive. I hope so.
I did pick up the dictionary a few times, in all
You
honesty.
did? I'm
Yes,
so
I
sorry.
did.
That's not the right
No,
thing.
it was a joy. It's good to
Right.
learn new words, to
Right,
add them to your
right.
vocabulary.
Thank you, Ira.
Much as we are all enjoying this chat, I'm getting those looks from the corner that it's time to wrap up. That would be telling.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what I mentioned, that now that he's hopefully out of the drug phase, and he's out of the time when he was, cornered, or he had relationship with about 308 girlfriends, and some more. And now he's more staid and he's stable, and, his wife has now sort of created more balance in his life, tamed and tempered him down. Hopefully this time he will, I hope so. But other celebrities are making up for it. I have a very nice missive from Amitabh Bachchan, who makes up for everybody. I mean, he's the god of Bollywood and such a gracious man. So hopefully Sanjay Dutt will, pick up a cue from Mr. Bachchan and finally write back to that 19-year-old who's no more 19-year-old, right? So that's right. That's correct.
So I guess it's a wrap. And thank you so much for joining us today in this conversation, and all the best for your book.
Thank you.
May it become a bestseller, Aruna.
Thank you. And you wanted me to make an announcement?
Absolutely.
Those
Please
who,
go ahead.
So that's the book, really. Those who have not picked it up, it's available at the Vishwakarma stall in the main in the lawns. So please get your copy, and I'm here to sign the book for you if you like.
Plenary stage.
The planetary?
Plenary.
Where the plenary session was being held. So please, do get a copy, and I'll be happy to sign it for you.
Also,
Thank
aren't you doing a book signing tomorrow
Yes,
in the
I am.
town?
Thank
Would you like to talk
I-
about that?
Absolutely. So there's a book signing happening at English Book Depot tomorrow between 3 and 4 p.m. So if anybody wants to walk by, come to the Scenic Bookstore, have a chat, have a picture, get the book signed, talk about it, get some spice after me, in the unofficial zone. I'm happy to do that. Share some gossip. Thank you.
Thank you.